Most ghosts are tied to a location. A tragic death, a blood-stained floor, a house that refuses to forget. We call these hauntings. But there is something far rarer and much more dangerous. A slinger. An entity that doesn't care about property lines or zip codes. An entity that attaches itself to you. Tonight, we step back into the winter of 1988, to a small house in San Pedro, California. This isn't just a ghost story. It's a recorded record of a woman's descent into a living nightmare, and the evidence that some things from the other side can actually kill. Jackie Hernandez was a woman looking for a fresh start. Pregnant with her second child and fleeing a violent marriage, she moved into a modest home in San Pedro with her 3-year-old son Jamie. She thought she was finally safe. She was wrong. It started with the midnight clock. Every night, without fail, Jackie would bolt upright at exactly 12 a.m. No alarm, no noise, just a crushing sense of being watched. Her cat, a companion of many years, was the first to lose its mind. It would arch its back, hissing at empty corners, until one day, it simply refused to enter the house at all, preferring the freezing winter air to whatever was lurking in the living room. Then came the first visual. One night, after the 12 a.m. wake-up call, Jackie felt a cold shiver. She walked into her son's room to check on him. She flipped the light switch, and her heart stopped. Sitting right next to Jamie's bed was an old man. His skin was the color of wet parchment. His head tilted at an unnatural, sickening angle. He was wearing tattered red clothing. He didn't move. He just stared at Jackie with eyes that looked like empty craters. Jackie screamed. When the light flickered, he was gone. But the air still smelled of copper and rot. Things escalated from spooky to impossible. Objects became projectiles. Pencils flew across rooms. Her son's dolls would move on their own, repositioning themselves to face her. But the most disturbing physical evidence was the walls. A thick, dark red liquid began to ooze from the drywall. Looked like blood. Smelled like death. Later analysis by a lab would reveal a terrifying truth. The liquid was human blood, specifically, blood from a male, with an impossibly high concentration of iodine. Then there was the attic. Every night, the sound of small feet running back and forth echoed from the ceiling. One afternoon, Jackie and a friend worked up the courage to look. They climbed the ladder, pushed open the hatch, and were met with a sight that would haunt their dreams. In the darkness of the rafters, a severed head, bloody and youthful, stared back at them with a look of pure, venomous hatred. There wasn't just one ghost. There was a crowd. Desperate and on the verge of a breakdown, Jackie contacted Dr. Barry Taff, a world-renowned parapsychologist who had consulted for the CIA. Taff was a skeptic by trade. He had exposed thousands of hoaxes. He arrived with his team, expecting to find a stressed mother imagining things. They set up their gear in the laundry room, the heart of the activity. Suddenly the sound started. Thumping from the attic. Jeff, the team's cameraman and a staunch atheist, climbed up to investigate. The attic was empty. No animals, no machinery. He took a few photos. Then he felt a tug. His heavy camera was ripped out of his hands by an invisible force and hurled into the dark corner. When Jeff and his teammate Conrad went back to retrieve it, the camera had been dismantled. The lens was unscrewed and thrown to the opposite side of the room. As they scrambled to leave, Jeff let out a strangled cry. He told the team something had shoved him. But the worst was yet to come. A month later, during a follow-up, a snap echoed through the house, the sound of fingers clicking in the dark. Jeff went back into the attic. Minutes later, the team heard a rhythmic, wet thumping. They shone their flashlights up. Jeff was dangling from the rafters. A heavy rope had appeared out of thin air, coiled around his neck, and was actively strangling him. He was twitching, his face turning purple. The team managed to cut him down just before his neck snapped. He had deep red welts burned into his skin, marks of a murder attempt from a ghost. Jackie fled. She moved to Kern County hours away, hoping the distance would break the tether. For a few months it was quiet. Then, one evening while moving a TV into her new garage, she caught a glimpse of the screen. In the reflection, standing right behind her, was the man in red. His head was still tilted. He had followed her. The haunting resumed with a vengeance. Scissors were found under her pillows. Someone or something was seen peering through her windows every night. In a final act of desperation, Jackie held a séance with a medium. The communication was chaotic, but the message was clear. There were 5 spirits attached to her. One of them identified himself as a sailor who had been murdered in 1930 and dumped in the San Pedro Bay. History would later confirm his story. A man named Herman, found dead with a jagged wound to his head, exactly where the head in the attic had been seen. Eventually, the activity faded. Jackie moved back to Los Angeles, and the entities slowly drifted away into the fog of her past. But the scars remained. Jackie told reporters that she no longer fears life, she fears death. Because now she knows that for some, the end isn't a peaceful sleep. It's a cold, angry lingering. And perhaps the most chilling part. Years later, the investigators, Jeff and Conrad, reported strange things in their own homes. Kitchen knives standing on their tips. Shadows in the hallways. And once, Conrad's nanny saw a man standing in his house. He was an old man. He was wearing red. And his head was tilted. Just like this. Sleep tight.